Sharp, you stay here with Grey Tongue. I'll be back momentarily. Oh. Hello there, and greetings. I am here on official business for Flower Child 567. She has asked me to come from Vvardanfell, and I've ridden all the way here without stopping. I am an Dunmir. I'm an Ashlander, and she has asked me to come and greet and welcome each of you. She's unable to be here right at the start of her TAMRIEL story hour, and so I came in her stead, for I have some things to share with you before she arrives. Her planned storyteller hour today is on Dark Elves, so come with me. We'll go in through the back door. We're going through the back door into the workshop. That is the library. And here's what I wish to share with you right here. This is where I come from, Vvardanfell. And as you can see, this is a map of my home. So I have things to share with you. So I hope that you will listen, for I have not much time. I only have a little bit to share with you the things I wish to share with you before Flower Child arrives. First of all, TAMRIEL is full of Dunmer, and we're not all equal, you know. I am of the Ashlander tribe, and so our ways are much different than just Dunmir, just Dark Elves. But let me tell you, one thing you must know, all of us, all the Dunmir, are mysterious, and we do worship living gods. We have a very rich and complex history that I'm sure Flower Child will share with you a bit. One of the things perhaps you don't know, or maybe you do if you are a historian, is that we were once called the Chimera, and the Dark Elves of Morrowind weren't always as you see them now. Instead, they are descendants of the Chimera Elves. The Chimera Elves were ashen-skinned, golden-hued, and dark-eyed. They resembled the Dunmir, and they originally came from the Somerset Isles. They left their ancestral home on the behest of Velthi, an elven prophet that believed in the worship of the Daedra, and Velthi brought the Chimere people to the southwest of their homeland and settled in Redoran, which is Morrowind. Now, once the Chimere settled in Morrowind, they met the Dunmir, one of the most baffling species of all TAMRIEL. They lived far underground and were into technology. But they are, in fact, another elven species, those dwarves. But meeting the Dunmir is the first step in changing from Chimere to Dunmir. Together, they fought off the Nords who invaded, and the two factions started to fight amongst themselves because the Dunmir used the Heart of Larkin, while the Chimere were against this practice. Their appearance did change. Even though most of the Chimere weren't against using the Heart of Larkin, 3 of them, Almalexia, Vivek, and Sothasil, didn't mind taking advantage of its power. The 3 were to become living gods and take the title of the Tribunal. And from this moment, the Chimere changed appearance, and they became the ashen-skinned Dunmir, because the Tribunals tampered with the Heart of Lorcan and became living gods. Azura cursed the Chimere, and she changed their appearance. But we hold a very strong religious system, very unique, very complex. The first Dunmir worshipped the Daedra, while after the curse of Azura, most of us worship the Tribunal. The Daedric worship centers around worshipping Bothia and Mephala and Azura, and of course these transformed and became later Almalexia, Vivek, and Sothasil, though most people do not know this. The Tribunal worship instead believed in the teaching of those 3 living gods. But it doesn't end here. As the Dunmir also takes part in ancestor worship. And that's how the Neverring cult came about. Did you know that the Tribunal is projected to live 3,500 years? Yes, 3,500 years. But there is an event that will bring the Dunmir to a close. There is an end in sight. To put all of that in perspective, the length of our rule spans longer than the modern calendar. And lucky for the other species, they never achieved our technological progress. Well, I want to share with you that the Dunmir divided into 2 factions to make things even more complicated. The great houses are a modernized civilization that takes the aspect of the imperial way of life and mixes into it our culture while worshipping the Tribunal. And while the other faction, the Ashlanders, of which I am a member of, a nomadic style faction that worships the Daedra during the rule of the Tribunal. And during the reign of the living gods, we are considered heretics. We are shamanic. We know the earth mysteries, and we know the ways of nature, and we know the ways of magic. But once the Tribunal falls, they will see that we are indeed the true believers. In fact, we built the Shrine of Azura in Skyrim. Yes. Yes. And we did that before the eruption of the Red Mountain. We fled because we were warned by Azura herself, and we left behind Skyrim. Now, to be thankful to the Daedric god, we Ashlanders settled in Skyrim, and we built the shrine on our own and kept it intact for all the worshippers wishing to visit it. In fact, if you were to travel to Skyrim, you would come and see. Well, I am certain that Malice Indoril says heresy. The tribunal will last forever, but he must open his eyes to the truth. Now, something that perhaps none of you know, but we Ashlanders know this, that we are cross-fertile with Redguard. Yes, and this is a very complex understanding. For the Redguard are human species that mostly live in Hammerfell and Alakir and Benkorai. But as a human species, you wouldn't expect them to be cross-fertile with the Dunmir, now would you? But you would be wrong. For long ago, Maramel, the Mara priest that you might meet in the Temple of Mara in Riften, and his wife Dinya, a Dunmir, well, they became parents, and it filled them with great joy to have a child together. And they thanked Mara, and they loved their child. And so you see, that is how things have changed over the years. Like all species, we Keimer have evolved. The Dunmer of Morrowind, of course, we've oddly used slavery. And when we ruled over our native land, we became convinced that they were the most critical species in TAMRIEL, us, the Dunmir. But we enslaved many Argonians, and even though today my companion is sharp as night, he is more a companion than he is my slave, though he obeys me. He obeys me. So, now perhaps the most important thing to know about the Dunmir is a belief that we Ashlanders hold, which war never brings good things. No, that's a recurring theme in Tamriel, all war here. But after the war against the Nords, we never needed to encounter the species for millennia, and still after the departure from Morrowind, following the eruption of the Red Mountain, many Dunmir settled in Windhelm. And once there, the Nords and most species weren't too fond of our presence, but we were there nonetheless. Primarily because the history between the two of us, but also because of our cultural differences and our appearances. So you see, there is much to be known about our race. And, well, there's only two more things I'll tell you, because I can hear the distant steps of our flower child as she comes through the door above. We are quite fond of Quama eggs, and in fact, many of us have Quama mines. And Nyx, oh Nyx, Nyx, dear little Nyx, whether like this or of the childhood companion Nyx, We just adore Nyx. Well, my friends, I'm afraid I must be away, for our dear flower child is now arriving. But don't go away, please. Stay here. Do not go away as I say farewell. Greetings, everyone. Hi, it's me, Flower Child 567. And I do want to say a thank you to my Ashlander friend who came today and was here to greet everybody. And I do want to acknowledge all of those who are here faithfully for the TAMRIEL Storyteller Hour. Hello, Alone in the Dark and Crazy Fighter. Hi, Visionary. Good to see you. Oxygen, TJarrd, hello, Ciara, Austin, Stoneman Quella, Frank Jacobs. Oh, TJarrd, did you and the Ashlander have a little debate going? I think so. Sasquatch, Crossthread, and Tight Sight. Thank you all. Today, as you can very well guess, I'm talking to you about what? I'm talking to you about the Dunmir. Let me get this all opened, do our little ritual, because you know we must have ritual here in TAMRIEL. Oh, there we go. Yes, indeed. I know our friend had you down in the workshop, but I think I'll stay right here. How's that? I'm going to stay right here and talk to you. I have so much to share with you about the Dunmir, and I'm so excited to read some of the lore to you. And this story time is not only dedicated to the writers of ESO, but also to my good friend Indoril, Malice Indoril, and to TJarrd. And also I have to say Vanrik Shield. So many names to dedicate to. Hey, White Sands, welcome. All right, you guys. We're focusing primarily on Vvardanfell, and we're going to understand the 4 primary houses that are all sort of connected. And so I'm going to come down here because I don't have, these are all books that I've picked up on the quest. And hey there, TJarrd. Anyways, I'm in the lore library, and I'm going down to the Eidetic memory and down to the Vvardanfell volumes. And this is where we're going to go today. And the first one we're going to read is about House Indoril. Thank you, Crazy Fighter. House Indoril. So let's find that volume and read about this. These 4 houses, and I wish my dear friend Vanrik Shield was here, because he would tell you so much more than I can above just reading this to you. But we're going to understand a little bit more about House Indoril. So let me find that volume here. And let's open it up. Here we go. Understanding House Indoril by Andor Indoril, Grand Historian for the House, written in the 57th year of the Golden Peace. Founded early in the First Era, House Indoril has always been a political powerhouse. Orthodox and conservative in our beliefs and outlooks, we have always been firm proponents of traditional Dunmir customs and practices. For House Indoril, religion stands as our most cherished institution. We revere our blessed ancestors. We honor the good Daedra, specifically Boda, Bathia, Mephala, and Azora, and we celebrate the saints including Veloth and Erlor. House of Indoril believes that Dunmir culture must be preserved at all costs. Change is the enemy of tradition, and it will weaken our strong foundation if we allow it to take root. House Indoril doesn't see outsiders and non-Dunmir as inherently evil and dangerous. And no outsider is forbidden from visiting Indoril territory, but housekin must always remain vigilant and observant. Every visitor must be watched carefully, for a watched thief never steals, as Grand Master Bestin taught us at the beginning of the age. Hey, Warrior Robert. Good day to you, too. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. They're the most religious and the most traditional. The second house we're going to take a look at is the Dres, understanding House Dres. And this was written by Solomar Dres, Grand Historian for the house, written in the 84th year of the Golden Peace. House Dres, one of the great houses of the Dunmir, prized our agrarian pursuits. That's a weird, I think it's agriculture, but above all else. The house built its fortune on saltress plantations and slave labor while maintaining a persistent tradition of Daedra worship and ancestor reverence. Dres controlled the southeastern region of Morrowind, even extending its influence into parts of central Morrowind. It was formally established as a great house by Grandmaster Thalthil Dres, after a successful slave raid that secured our role as the predominant suppliers of slaves to the other houses. House Dres constantly resisted efforts to join Dunmir society with the rest of Tamriel. Proud isolationists, we nevertheless believed in the unity of the great houses. Our agricultural might fed Morrowind, providing the majority of the foodstuffs necessary for the existence and continuation of Dunmir society. As such, feeding Morrowind provided the bulk of our wealth and influence, supplemented nicely by our control of the slave trade. The isolationist stance of House Dres was instilled in its customs and world outlook from the very beginning. Not only do we consider the other cultures and races to be inferior to the Dunmir, we deem any extended contact with them where we were not in total control to present a danger to Dunmir society. Ideas like a plague can spread without warning and prove to be impossible to contain. Instead, we should concentrate on inter-house relations and improving the position of the Dunmir to make our society stronger and eternal. Well, there you have it. It's kind of interesting because on one hand you have the Indoril, and on the opposite hand you have the Dre. One upholds tradition and religion, and the other upholds agriculture and slave trade. So they're more of the merchants, perhaps the merchants of the Dunmir. Okay, now, hi White Lines. Now, let's take a look at the third house, which is House Redoran. Understanding House Redoran by Redoran, Grand Historian for the house, written in the 107th year of the Golden Peace. From the original formation of House Redoran Our housekin have held the virtues of duty, gravity, and piety most dear. A frivolous, soft life is not worth living. We focus on maintaining the traditions of the civilized Dunmir and holding fast to the way of the warrior. Our military strength, for example, outclasses the other great houses by a wide margin. Our prowess puts us at least one step ahead of them all, and in most cases, many more. For Redoran housekin, the driving goal is to fulfill your duty and maintain your honor. Anything less is a disrespect to yourself and your house. Beyond that, your duty is to your honor, your family, and your clan in that order. Life is essentially serious and difficult. We must accept and endure the harshness of life, for that is the path of the Redoran. Reflect upon every event and action with thoughtfulness and sobriety. Remain stern, deliberate, and proud, for anything less is not Redoran. Interesting. So now we have the warrior class, very strict, militant. And then we have the fourth house, understanding House Hlaalu. Understanding House Hlaalu by Hlaalu, Grand Historian for the House, written in the 121st year of the Golden Peace. Hey, wasn't Bilbo Baggins 100? No, I don't, never mind. Stand proud, kin of Hlaalu. You belong to one of the original great houses of the civilized Dunmir. From our capital in the city of Narcissus, our influence extends throughout the central region of Morrowind. Some call us opportunist, like it's a curse, but as Grandmaster Heslith always implored, the Dunmir who ignores opportunity deserves every failure that comes his way. From the earliest days of the house, Hlaalu focused on trade and crafts. Our maxim was simple. The goal for every housekin was to succeed in business and turn a tidy profit. The Book of Grasping Fortune reminds us to seize every chance to make a profit, but remember that your reputation also has value. Without huge armies or vast holdings, it fell to our housekin to become experts at diplomacy and negotiation. Our words became our strength. Oh, there were also the less savory attributes that went along with fast talking and deal-making. We became thieves and sneaks, blackmailers and backstabbers. Still, we always appreciated the value of the deal. And as the Book of Grasping Fortune tells us, the perfect approach to negotiations is to compromise with an eye toward securing the best possible deal. Our influence and our wealth has always been distinguished by our willingness to live in peace with our neighbors. While there can be short-term profit in conflict and war, sustainable growth only comes from harmony and fair trade. It falls to House Hlaalu to acknowledge our Dunmir culture with one hand while using the other to adapt to changing conditions as necessary in order to succeed. And what is success? A satisfying deal and a tidy profit, of course. There is a dark stain on our history, however. Our natural tendencies encourage others to use bribes and favors to influence our housekin. This means that for every honest and fair counselor Hlaalu produces, there might be as many as 4 or 5 that are underhanded and corrupt. Ooh. Does this concern us? Not overly, as history shows us that even the corrupt can wind up serving the common good, or at least the common prophet, has no moral component, as the Book of Grasping Fortune proclaims. You can trade with a friend forever, steal from a fool once or twice, and bargain with the dead not at all. So always go for the most sustainable profit. Interesting. I'm going to see if the Book of Grasping Fortune and what's the other one? The Book of Grasping Fortune and the Book of... Well, let me see if the Book of Grasping Function is here. The Book of Grasping. I don't have all the books, as you can see. I don't have any of these Ordinator books. Oh, darn. The Book of Grasping Fortune. Oh, too bad. It might be under a different... It might be in... Thank you, Storm Aquila. Thank you. Hi, Strong Onion. Well, there you have it. Those are the 4 houses, but there is the Ashland tribes and customs. And we're going to look at that. The Ashland tribes and customs. Because after all, Ashlanders are part of the Dunmir. Right, TJarrd? Okay. Ashlander Tribes and Customs by Ulran Relith of House Redoran. The Dunmarried nomads, known as the Ashlanders, wander Morrowind's wilderness, going where they will and doing what they please, free of the strictures that both provide structure and a high degree of rigidity for the great houses. They organize in loose tribes and hearken back to an earlier time in dark elf history. They subsist as herder-hunters and find simple pleasures in a more natural lifestyle. Ashlanders revere their ancestors and worship Daedra, refusing to acknowledge the divinity of the living gods of the tribunal. They occasionally trade with other tribes and even with the great houses, exchanging guar, hides, and shulk resin for news of the wider world and goods they can't easily acquire in the wild. Within their nomadic society, the Ashlanders are courteous, proper, and polite, and when dealing with outsiders, though, they can become easily offended. Tribal leaders called Ashkans serve as the warrior protective of the community they lead. Second in command is a Gullah Khan, who serves as the voice of the tribe in matters of trade and negotiations. Outsiders would do well to approach the Gullah Khan first before attempting to seek an audience with the Ashkan. Each tribe also has a wise woman, a far-seer who keeps the songs, lore, and prophecy of the tribe. She is the spiritual leader of the tribe, and the rest of the tribe stands as equals, sharing responsibilities as they hunt, herd, forage, and otherwise support each other. And just so you all know, the lady who came and waited and received you, she is a far-seer, which is the reason why I invited her. Hi, Turnip King. Well, the nomads are organized in 4 primary tribes. The Alman Musa tribe resides in the southern coastal regions and swamplands of Vvardanfell, and in years past they traveled from coast to coast, fishing and hunting, but more recently have largely been pushed out into the bitter coast region as Televanni and Redoran settlements spring up around their formal grounds. The Amen Musa are among the most peaceful of the Ashlander tribes, and the weakest in terms of amassing any sort of war band. They wear light clothing, often adorned with small shells, scales, and even netting, and their weapons are more like tools, simple knives and spears they can use to work as well as defend themselves if need be. and they prefer to keep to themselves and be left alone, living out their lives hunting, herding, and especially fishing. They have a small, semi-permanent settlement currently along the bitter coast where they live off the fish and other local wildlife in the swamplands. Hi, Indian Chief. The let me get this. The Arabinum Sun tribe resides in the Molag Amur region of Vvardanfell and are as dour and dangerous as the volcanic ashlands they hail from. The Arabinum Sun are quite war-loving. They are seen as greedy and cruel by their fellow Ashlanders and are believed to have believed to not have respect for many Ashlander customs. They care little about prophecy, history, and lore, so the wise woman has little power in this tribe. Arabinim are also typically the most heavily armed and armored. They are warriors first and foremost, valuing strength above all else. And the Hlaalu tribe is the most highly respected tribe and the second most popular. They reside in the West Gash region and the northern Ashlands, which, like the Grazelands, is considered prime hunting and foraging land. But more than its many hunters, warriors, and herders, Hlaalu is famed for its lore keepers, and it is the only tribe that currently has multiple Varseers, and the wise woman of Hlaalu is widely renowned. And you got to meet one. Hlaalu has been key in ushering in a temporary age of peace among the Ashlander tribes, for all are listening when the oracles speak of an age of coming strife that the tribes must prepare for. In particular, it is the Hlaalu tribe that keeps faith that Nerevar incarnate will return soon to unite the people. Hlaalu are some of the only Ashlanders to occasionally use magic. More common than actual spell weaving is enchanting and alchemy, at which they are highly skilled. They are also the tribe most interested in ancient relics, scrolls, and other items one might find in the ruins dotting Vvardanfell. Bringing them such things is one way to gain favor with this tribe. No, I have not. They're just not here yet. The most populous tribe, the proud and confident Zionab, resides in the fertile Grazeland regions of the northeast. Vvardanfell, like the Amin Musa, they are surprisingly peaceable and friendly even to the Outlanders, although they are somewhat greedy and arrogant as well. The Zanab is, in a way, the oddest of the tribes, in that they follow the old ways, but they are extremely interested in the change. Yes, that has overtaken Vvardanfell. And they freely trade with the great houses, and some have even sought to forge more firm business deals with houses like Hlaalu. All in all, one gets the impression that Zanab is the most willing to adapt, even if they will not entirely leave their Ashlander lifestyle behind. Zanab possesses the most diverse collection of goods, including their aims and armor. They typically trade for goods instead of crafting them, and they are well known for harvesting, foraging, and mining in the rich Grazeland, which has led to their unrivaled prosperity. So as you can see, there is quite a diverse history. And there's one more book that I'm going to read before we come up to the modern tribe. And that book is The Living God. Let me get it here. I think it's in this. The Living God. Oh, maybe I have to go to Mm-hmm. There's so much in the Dunmir to read, like everything about the Red Mountain and such. Here we go. Understanding the Living God. Dear Thane Vigil Stormbreast, honored leader of the Nord Cultural Exchange, it is I, Rygert the Brash, writing to you in Windhelm as you requested. I continue my study and exchange of information with the little dark elves of Morrowind as you ordered. Why you sent Rygert away after he only just arrived, I don't completely understand. But I suppose my mission is very important, as I set foot, well, both feet really, into Vvardanfell. The thought of this mission makes Rygert so excited. Trading culture with allied nations so that we can learn more about each other is almost better than cold mead on a hot day. Almost. This time I travel to learn more about the Tribunal, the so-called living gods of the Dark Elf people. The wonderment of it all gives Rygert the skin bumps. Now, unlike our good and proper gods of Skyrim, gods who listen to our prayers, but have the good graces to stay out of Nord business, the Dark Elf gods actually walk among the people and rule over them the way the Skald King parades around Windhelm. No offense, Skald King. The god kings of Morrowind seem to answer to various titles, although the most common appellations appear to be Lord, Mother, and Wizard. Rygert spent many long hours attempting to converse with knowledgeable little dark elves, but much of what they told me just made my head go spinny spin. Here's what I learned about the Tribunal gods. Maybe you can make better sense of it all. The most popular of the three, at least in Vvardanfell, is the warrior poet, Vivek. They sing his praises in the corner clubs and shout his victories from the rooftops. Really, the faithful on every street corner eagerly shoved pamphlets containing his lessons and sermons at me, if I so much as smiled in their general directions. Lord Vivek is called the Master of Morrowind. I tried to read some of his poetry, but it just made my eyes hurt. Not at all as interesting or bawdy as the great Jorki, and full of illusions that any who aren't drenched in dark elf culture just wouldn't understand. Truth be told, even I, dark elf expert that I am, had trouble with some of the more esoteric concepts. He preaches duty to faith, family, masters, and all that is good. He saved his people on numerous occasions, including helping to repel at least 2 Akaviri invasions, and most recently, the invasion that led to the creation of our cherished Ebonheart Pact. He apparently has some sort of connection to the Daedra, Mephala, who the Dark Elves called one of the good Daedra. He does have a dark side, though, as I've been told, that he has an unnatural attraction to lustful thoughts and murderous intentions, so not very different from the rest of the puny Dark Elves, right? He lives right here in a grand palace in Vivek City, which conveniently has the same name that he does. I spent a few minutes in his presence, but I couldn't help but stare at his strange appearance. Also, he tended to float around the chamber as a tactic to make us mortal creatures feel inferior. Well, it worked surprisingly well. Still, I was happy to have been able to spend some quality time with such a personage of impressiveness. Next, I tried to discover everything I could about the one they call Mother Morrowind, Almalexia. Now it turns out she mostly inhabits the temple in Mournhold, so I wasn't able to get a face-to-face with the Dark Elf patron of healers and teachers. I admit I'm very disappointed, as I am given to understand that for a goddess, she's the elk's antlers. Now, they also claim that she embodies the best of dark elf culture and determination, which would fit into my area of expertise quite nicely. One priest told me that she protects the poor and the weak, and that her wisdom guides the Dunmir through all their affairs. A drunk dark elf in a corner club also mentioned that she was kind of a stick in the mud, but an ordinator dragged her away before I could ask what she meant by that. Oh well. The most mysterious of the three god monarchs is Sothasil, also known as the Mystery of Morrowind and the Wizard of Wondrousness. I believe I misplaced those notes and am writing this last bit from memory, like having a few mugs of mead. Although rumors abound, no one that I could find has claimed to have seen Sothasil in a hawker's age. The best I could learn from asking around is that Sothasil is the patron of artificers and mages, and especially dark elves. Consider him to be the most powerful magica user in all the land. I even heard an amazing tale about a city of clockwork gears that Sothasil crafted to study the inner workings of the world. And they claim it's only as big as a small mammoth. Now that's something I'd give my last rabbit meatball to see. He's also credited with negotiating some kind of compact with a number of Daedra princes, but I decided not to look too deeply into the rumor. As Joki says, the fool who stares gets noticed by the Daedra. Rygert is not so foolish as to do something as stupid as that. Did you roll your eyes, Thane Vizsli? I bet you rolled your eyes. The three living gods of the Dunmir empower the tribunal temple and embody the will and discipline of dark elves everywhere. Well, except for the Ashlanders, who refuse to bend their knees to Vivek, Almalexia, or Sothasil. Some sort of family squabble. I imagine I'll look into that while I'm here. Rigert the Brash, Ambassador at Large for the Nord Cultural Exchange. Well, there you have that. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Oh, thanks, Nightbot. Hey, everyone. Meet what Nightbot. Nightbot is the new moderator of the stream. So, okay, I'll have to look into some of this to make sure, you know. How do you figure out story time? Well, I choose a topic is what I do. White Sand. I choose a topic, and then I do research. I go and visit the zone that it's in. So I spend a whole week, like over the weekend and all of next week leading up to Friday. I'll spend time immersing myself into it all. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our time, and as I mentioned earlier, one of the tribes has gotten fleshed out of Vvardanfell and now live on the edge of the Televanni Peninsula. And though I don't have the book yet, because I just simply have not obtained it, although it may be in the Aldemari Televanni tombs, I am going to just end a brief history of House Televanni. And that brings us into the end of our timeline together. And you will learn that this is also a stronghold of the Dark Elves. And we all know that it just recently opened to all of us to be able to come in. And I really do want to do just a session on Televanni. So I'm thinking that perhaps I'll go there next week. So you see, you see. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about that, Indian Chief. I will lesson. Oh, I will lesson the moderator a little bit. So I like the emotes, to be perfectly honest, and I don't mind the caps. So, but Nightbot, thank you very much. But anyways, as you can see, White Sand right here. This is our next. We're going right into the Televanni and looking at this part of the dark elf history, because it's quite extensive and it's so new to all of us. It deserves its own Friday. So get ready for next week, the latest Televanni tomes. So my friends, I want to thank you so much for being with me today, and I did have one little fun thing to read though, so let me end with that. And I have to go back under here to Vvardanfell, and it's a little ditty called the Mean Old Torch. What's it called? Mean Old Torchbug. Mean Old Torchbug. I gotta go up here. The Mean Old Torchbug. The Mean Old Torchbug. Where is it? The Mean Old Torchbug. I thought it was under here. Maybe it's not. The Mean Old Torchbug. There it is. Mean Old Torchbug. Mean Old Torchbug. Sit back. This is about Quana. Sit back. Mean Old Torchbug lived near the Quama mine. He loved to taunt and tease the Quama workers, but especially enjoyed getting brave little Scrib into trouble. Oh, he was never obvious about his troublemaking, and for the most part, the brave little Scrib considered the tiny Torchbug to be her friend. If brave little Scrib took a moment to consider all the times she wound up punished because she listened to Torchbug, she might have felt differently about the mean little creature. But the brave little Scrib never thought much about such things. It wasn't in her nature. One day, after she grew bored watching the Quama workers busily move the Quama eggs from one section of the hatchery to another, brave little Scrib ventured out of the mine. It was a beautiful day, sunny and warm, with a gentle breeze blowing through the mushroom forest. Quama warrior stood guard at the entrance and asked her where she was going. "I'm going out to play," she answered, which she thought was totally obvious to anyone other than the serious warrior. As brave little Scrib entered the mushroom forest, she saw a glowing light hovering above the trail ahead. It was her friend, Mean Old Torchbug, though she never called the tiny insect such a horrible name. "Hello, tiny Torchbug," Scrib called out. "And greetings to you, little Scrib," Torchbug sang, his voice like a crackling fire. "What brings you out of the mine on this beautiful day?" "I've come to play," brave little Scrib said cheerfully. "The mine is dreadfully dull, as the workers are constantly busy, and all the warriors want to do is fight and fight and fight, and I'm looking for an adventure." "An adventure?" Torchbug asked gleefully. "I know just the thing to fill your day with excitement and provide with an amusement to brighten up my afternoon." Remembering the other suggestions Torchbug shared with her during the time they'd known each other, Scrib asked suspiciously, "What do you have in mind?" "There's a mage's tower nearby in one of the tall mushrooms. The mage that lives there is always looking for a brave little Scrib to play games with. She knows the most interesting games." "What kind of games?" Scrib asked, suddenly excited despite her suspicion. "Oh, the best kind, I assure you." "Then lead the way, tiny Torchbug," Scrib said, and she followed the glowing insect deeper into the shadows cast by the looming mushroom's fires. As brave little Scrib followed Torchbug toward the mushroom tower, she noticed a pile of empty jars heaped haphazardly near the tower's base. She stopped to inspect the jars, sniffing at the sticky, sweet residue that clung to the discarded vessels. "Is something wrong, little Scrib?" Torchbug asked, flitting back to hover above the piled jars. "There's something familiar about this smell," Brave little Scrib said, but I can't quite place it. That's just the remains of the jelly the mage likes to spread on toasted bread. In fact, that's one of the games she loves to play when brave little Scribs come to call. Now, brave little Scrib isn't the most clever Quama in the mind, but she has her moments, and this was one of them. You want to watch the mage turn me into Scrib jelly, don't you? You mean Old Torchbug? Of course, Torchbug sang. I so want to see how the jelly gets made. I think we'll save that for another day, Torchbug, brave little Scrib said. If you insist, little Scrib, Torchbug sang. Have a good day. And brave little Scrib raced back to the Quama mine, leaving Torchbug in the shadows with the empty jars. That was one adventure she was glad to miss. Well, I know I always end with something that has to do with food, so I thought, Scrib jelly, why not, right? Dunmirs are the best. Well, if you say so. You must be a dark elf. Okay, well, there you have it, my friends. And, yeah, that's it for today. So, come next week to learn all about Televanni, the dark elves of Televanni, and all kinds of lore that's going to fill the hour for next time. So, I'm going to close our apocryphal tome, and I'm going to extinguish the flames and close the doors. And until next time, here's wishing you a wonderful adventure out under all of the mushroom trees. Enjoy. Thank you all for tuning in, you guys. Malice agrees. Oh gosh, Angry Birds. Alright, you guys, I will check into this. As I said, Nightbot is a new moderator, and it's a bot just like that, so I have to set up a few things. I was hoping there would be some announcements made, but instead it came down on all of you. And thank you, Tight Side. I'm so happy that you've enjoyed it. I really love story time. Don't get offended by Nightbot. Nightbot is brand new, like I said, and it's a bot. So that means I have to program it. So I'm learning, what it does. So who wants to dance? Stop spamming emotes. That's a warning. Don't worry about it. It's no warning. All right, you guys. Have a great one. Until next time. Bye.